A ton of Democratic Party influencers were just exposed for taking dark money in order to spread neoliberal propaganda. And after it was revealed which content creators was paid by Democrat dark money, my first response was, they might as well lit that money on fire. The Democratic Party paid $8,000 per month to this person to help them bring young men back into the Democratic Party. No wonder you motherfuckers lost. It cannot be overstated how much these cringe Democratic Party influencers hurt the Democratic Party brand and drove young men away from the party to begin with. This is a hilarious story that shows the incompetence of the Democratic Party, but it also reveals their depraved ideology. Because as you can see by their content, these people was paid by corrupt neoliberals to punch left and attack third party. People like AIPACman was paid by the Democratic Party and then went on long rants explaining to his audience why you shouldn't trust Jill Stein.
Now, I don't think it will come as a surprise to my audience that I have not seen Jill Stein as a serious person for a very long time. In fact, Jill Stein may be specifically to blame or credit for numerous Republican wins.
Isn't it funny how they was telling you not to trust Jill Stein, and they will try to accuse third-party activists like myself of being grifters, as they was being paid by corrupt neoliberals in order to push a genocidal capitalist party? But this highlights why the neoliberal brand is dying and why Democrats are panicking. Despite paying influencers huge amount of money to spread their propaganda, the masses still reject their bullshit.
Come on, David, you're supporting Angela Rye because she's a tool of the Democratic Party, which pays you. I've never been a Democrat. I don't get any money from the Democratic Party.
Let's turn the music off. What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome back to Nick of Primetime. The streak continues. As you guys know, I'm always in the lab cooking. And I've been having a great time with this story. Bro, the meltdown on liberal Twitter after this story. They're in full-blown shambles mode trying to defend their web of dark money corruption. And there's so many people like myself that is vindicated because I've seen so many of these Democratic Party influencers. And the thought that everybody had is that there's no way these people are not paid. And they was paid. There are a lot of people who misrepresent the story, as I mentioned there. They was paid to promote neoliberal pro-genocide propaganda. It's more than just promoting a party. This is class war. This is typical class war. The capitalist class paying to control the flow of information, turning young people and forcing them to support or persuading them to support a genocidal capitalist agenda. Let me see if I can take this damn ad off. Here it is. Here's the article version of it. Dark money group paying pro-dem influencers $8,000 per month. Fam, this is not $8,000 per month. That'll be around $100,000 per person, damn near. They're not doing that to feed the homeless, to build a movement that inspires working class people. No, they're doing it to fund people like AIPACman. So AIPACman can have an incentive to go after and smear third parties. And as I mentioned before, has this been successful? What did I tell you guys? I told you guys the Democratic Party is essentially a glorified jobs program for rich kids. You want to tell me they really paid this person $8,000 per month to win over young people? And they posted the most cringe, brain dead, content, a lot of it punching left. But it's like, do you guys really believe this was going to work? You have this person who, oddly enough, she used to, and this is how you know it's nefarious, because she used to follow me. You know what? That's very strange. I remember it as clear as day, because she used to pretend to be one of those Bernie-style Democrats. She used to pretend to be a progressive, and then you can tell the second that the money hit the bank account. I'm not ever saying she was never ever good, but I remember there was a time when she followed me, and I'm like, dude, why the fuck? I was like, why the fuck is some Democrat influencer fuck following me? And she'll post some rap lib shit. We need a Democratic Party to give us Medicare for all. She went from that to promoting neoliberalism, supporting Jim Crow Joe, and establishment Democrats in a blink of an eye, to the point where there was people calling her out way before the scandal. There was ordinary Democrats that was like, man, I thought you were supposed to be a progressive, and now you shilling for Jim Crow Joe. To let you guys know how far gone this person was and what the Democrats was paying people for. When people was asking Joe Biden to drop out, she was one of the many accounts saying the Democrats should never portray Joe Biden. She was a Biden dead ender. That's what the Democratic Party was paying for. And this is what they was paying for. They was paying for this person to make these cringe-ass edits. Look, the girlies are making edits of Gavin Newsom to Lana Del Rey music on TikTok. It's over. He is now the king of America. And you guys are wondering why you lost young men and you're losing the working class. Lana Del Rey? You guys see who she is paid to promote and uplift? The people like Gavin Newsom, the neoliberal Democrats. So a lot of people were just reporting the story as, oh, yeah, you have a Republican dark web apparatus, which is true. But they don't pretend this is just innocent job development for young liberal content creators. No, this is them taking payment from our class enemy, a dark web of capitalists, in order to spread a very particular agenda. This highlights the depravity of the average Democrat, of the neoliberal Gen Z influencer. The entire two-party duopoly is fake. This is why I don't trust anybody in this day and age who is advocating for the two-party duopoly. After seeing the betrayal of Barack Obama that shifted my entire generation to the left, and then you see MAGA being betrayed by Donald Trump, then you saw progressives bet on Jim Crow Joe, and then he's facilitated a genocide. I don't trust anyone who supports two-party duopoly. And think about how many people have been exposed as flipping like yesterday. Like people on the Vanguard who used to come on RBN, and they used to say stuff like, we want a third-party movement. And then the check hits. And then out of nowhere, they become Democrats. Like, oh, we got to vote for Jim Crow Joe. Don't listen to RBN. They're part of the Red-Brown Alliance who want the Republican Party to win. Then they repeat the same script. RBN, we are grifters. We're grifters because we advocate for a people worker-led movement outside of duopoly, because obviously that's where the big money is at. Obviously that's where the fucking checks are being cashed. So whenever you see these duopolists, and now they all do it, they all pretend that the people outside of the duopoly, as if we got something to grift over, as if we got a giant wave of capitalists want to support an uprising anti-capitalist third-party movement. Every single person who calls themselves a socialist and then try to rationalize to you why they support a neoliberal pro-war party, they are the biggest grifters in politics. Do you guys understand? Because this person who used to follow me, this person who used to pretend to be on the left, she switched to a neoliberal overnight. Like, this is the kind of stuff that they paid her to type. And this is the class war element that you only get on RBN, because the few people who are covering this story, they covering it on a surface level. They're like, hey, look, Democrat influencers being paid. This is crazy. Okay, all parties do this. Like, if you are a Republican, this shouldn't be a big deal. If you are a Democrat, this shouldn't be a big deal. This is a big deal to us because we are seeing the ideology that the Democratic Party is paying $8,000 per person per month for. Look, if you think I'm a Republican because I said communism is bad, once again, you guys know I have friends who are not communists. That's not where I draw the red line. I said 1,000 times before, I draw the red line on anti-communism. But you guys see how she's paid by the neoliberal class to drag young people back to the right? You think I'm a Republican because I said communism is bad? No, you're a paid shill. And the question is, why she had to lie about it? Every single one of these neoliberals lied about, like David AIPACman, who they claimed there was independent. Meanwhile, they were being funneled by genocidal Democrats in order to spread neoliberal propaganda. So she said, the fact that some of you think that a young person can have only the political leanings of Bernie Sanders, so she's justifying her neoliberal ideology that she was paid to repeat. And she's gaslighting the working class and young people while she is doing it. Do you guys understand how psychopathic the Democratic Party is? This is why I don't view them as a lesser evil to Republicans. This is a level of gaslighting that the Republican Party couldn't dream of accomplishing. Tricking a ton of misinformed young people. I wasn't always super sharp. I fell for a lot of dumb shit when I was younger. That's why I wish I had maximum disdain for these people who are engaging in these psyops on the side of the capitalist class to trick these young, dumb people like me. Like, I remember a time I used to like Stephen Colbert. I used to think his show was funny. Remember the Colbert show? I remember I used to like Jon Stewart. I used to think Bill Maher was kind of witty back in the day. These are L's and parts of my development that I overcame. And these people are obstacle to people when they're overcoming this brainwashing that we all go through. I have my brother Jose Vega here. I'm gonna bring you in here in a second, bro. We're gonna roast the shit out of Ritchie Torres. I'm also interested in your take on this story. Because you guys know Jose Vega, the homie. Like, I invite him on all the time on RBN. I invite him on even before the Ritchie Torres video dropped because he's good to get his analysis. So he just so happens to be running for Congress as well. And we at RBN support him. So I'm going to bring you in just 1 second, Jose. Let me finish this quick presentation. So this is her lying. If you're so confident about what you're doing, why are you lying about it? I haven't been paid a dime to do anything in Texas, by the way. Yes, you have. You want to know what's, and this is go back to my point, this is extremely nefarious about what the Democratic Party is doing. You see, they're not just paying these people to promote the Democratic Party. They're paying them to promote neoliberalism in a time where a record amount of young people are gravitating towards socialism. Do you guys know a majority of young Black people under the age of 30 has a net positive view of socialism while having a net negative view of capitalism? One of those stats you will never hear in mainstream media. Why they'll pretend the rise of the left is just suburban white people. No, the socialist movement, the vanguard, is being led by young Black America. And during this time, you want to know what the class warring Democrats do? They pay young Latinas to promote neoliberalism. Look, I want to be extremely clear here. I am a liberal. Let me big straighten this. I gotta make this bigger. You guys gotta see this. This is what they pay for. I want to be extremely clear. I am a liberal. I am a center-left, New Dem caucus, neoliberal Democrat. The second you ever hear anyone call themselves a neoliberal, that should have been the number one sign that this person was on the payroll. And I want to get your thoughts, Jose. So I'm gonna share this last receipt, and I'll bring you in as I finish the story. But I want to show you guys this because David PacMan. I don't have time to roast everyone on the list. It would take forever. So I'm gonna go to the ones that I know of. The only reason I'm picking on Olivia Juliana, I know her only because she used to follow me, and I always had tabs on her ever since then. And I was like, damn. She turned into a crazy neoliberal. I think she was just keeping tabs on us. You know what I mean? That's why I know who she is. So I'm going to go to David PacMan because there's like, 15 or so people listed there? You guys should read the full article. But I'm only going to cover the people I know of. And David PacMan is one of them. I know this is obvious, but this is what the Democratic Party paid this person who called himself an independent content creator to tell his audience.
If President Biden has Parkinson's, so what? It makes no difference to me. It would do nothing to dissuade me from voting for him.
Of course it wouldn't, sir. It's almost like you're paid to say that. All right, so I don't want to keep my guests waiting too long, so I'm going to bring Jose in during this segment. I think you got a lot to say. We have amazing activists. I think Jose Vega and his organization, they're the one who popularized the trend of activists calling out pro-war Democrats. And I'm talking about even before October 7th, because I remember you did it during the Ukraine war, like even before the genocide. So this is how you got a lot of street cred. Yeah, even before October 7th, Jose Vega started this trend of people calling out Democrats and getting arrested and dragged out because he used to call them out for their support of Ukraine. And it was easy to transfer over that topic to calling out Democrats on genocide. So you always had a lot of respect for RBN because that's revolutionary practice, man. So thank you for joining us on RBN, Jose Vega.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm glad to be supported by RBN. You guys were some of the first people to bring me on when I started doing the interventions, and so deeply appreciative to be on here and covering this segment with you. I mean, just already PacMan saying who cares if Biden has Parkinson's? It's like, oh yeah, sure. You weren't paid to support the DNC, of course, right? So yeah, I'm here though. I'm here for it all.
So this is what I share on my hotspot. And isn't it funny? All these people who are paid. We did the roast of Hassan Piker the other day. We have this is technically the roast of David PacMan. We have the roast of Ritchie Torres coming up as our official segment. But this is what they pay for. They're paying him to smear anyone who is on the left outside of the Democratic Party. Just like you saw with Crystal Ball, who told people they need to grow up. Yeah. If they were supporting third parties. It was a coordinated psyop to sheepdog people back in the Democratic Party. But let me play this because this is another reason why they pay that money. Let me turn this up a bit.
Now, I don't think it will come as a surprise to my audience that I have not seen Jill Stein as a serious person for a very long time. In fact, Jill Stein may be specifically to blame or credit for numerous Republican wins. I'll give you.
So when you guys see this stuff, do you think this guy has a single independent thought?
No, of course not. Of course not. Because, and I remember that time that was coordinated with the DNC. They were doing a big effort to discredit any third party, especially Jill Stein. I think they put out the first attack ad against her in Michigan. And that was like, wow, they're actually afraid of third parties. So, and they also know that the blogosphere, like the independent media, or I guess, I don't know if you consider David PacMan independent. Well, not really, because he's being paid to promote this stuff, but the alternate, mainstream leftist media, they do coordinate. They just have to. Like this guy Sam Cedar on the Majority Report, I hate these guys so much. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. There's gonna be a lot of people watching this who are like just finding me out for the first time, and they're like hoping that I'm gonna be like their young rising progressive star. It's not me. That's not me. Okay, I am not trying to get good in with the Sam Cedars or the Emma Viglins, who are just trying to, to earn a buck off of the DNC. I don't, like, for example, like now I'm supposed to believe that people want to be serious about criticizing AOC. Oh yeah, sure. You know, we were doing that for years now.
Yep.
Years, you know, it's like, oh, now you want to do it? No. See, I don't believe it. And that's the thing, too, about this whole thing is that these people are so deranged because if you honestly believed that there was a genocide happening, and you actually had the so you know the ear of these people, right? Like you, because they, like, if you're being used to coordinate how people think, that means that, you know, on some level, that the people who are carrying out the genocide know you have influence. So you should use that influence to tell people, I'm not endorsing this candidate until they do an arms embargo and stop the genocide. And instead, what, they just rubber stamp this as a whole, and they don't. And not only that, they try to gaslight you into saying, who cares if the president has Parkinson's? So what, he might shake a little bit here and there. Does his mind still work? Maybe. So yeah, better than Trump, right? Because Trump is bad and evil and fascist. Like, as if the last 4 years weren't bad too. I mean, everything that was happening on the campuses and the genocide, what is worse than that?
You hit the nail on the head, because that's the reason I'm covering the story. And a lot of people are covering the story as just a ha ha, we got you, you're a grifter, almost as if this is a drama story. Guys, it's much more than that. Because even before we got into it, you want to know who David Pacman was paying?
Oh my God.
Yep. I told you, we started with the roast of David Pacman first. We're going to get to the roast of Ritchie Torres. They all get it today, bro. Everyone is being exposed. We told you guys this is the year where these motherfuckers are going to be exposed. So we got the roast of Ritchie Torres coming up. But he was paid
absolutely
to rehabilitate Ritchie Torres as a progressive candidate. Big shout out to my followers, my mutual base. Big shout out to Sam, because people saw I was covering this and people were sending me a lot of receipts, as they always do. And this is one I found was great. Thank you for sending me this one, Sam. Like, he was rehabilitating Ritchie Torres, and what they was doing, they was punching left during the show. They were saying stuff like the Jimmy Dore left. Obviously, they would never say my name. They would never give me that kind of clout, but they was definitely talking about us. They were saying you're these outsiders who engage in purity tests, who don't understand the issue of Gaza. He was running cover. People have no idea the level of depravity of this motherfucker. This is why I'm spending time on him. Go ahead, Jose.
It's the social programming aspect of it too. Like, for example, I'm supposed to like this guy Mike Platner, who's running in Maine against Susan Collins, right? It's like, wait a minute, whoa, I didn't even hear about this guy. Suddenly he's all over my X algorithm. And there are like 9 different mainstream media articles about covering him. Oh, this is a serious Dem challenger, part of the Dem Tea Party movement. All of these people are connected in one way or another to the Dem establishment. Like, they try to make Kat Abu Ghazaleh out in Illinois to be this like progressive star, you know, but it's like, why does she get CNN spotlights, right? Even Michael Blake, this guy that they might run in the primary against Ritchie Torres, you know, why does he get CNN spotlight, right? Why do these people get the coverage they get? Because they're okay with them. Like, for example, if Michael Blake runs in the primary, they'll be okay with him replacing Ritchie Torres, because overall, they know that there's a fervent happening in the country. They know that there are people who are pissed off. So they have to say, okay, well, we need to put people who can masquerade as progressive, who can masquerade as being upset with the Democrats, so that we can still control that field. That is the level of psyop happening right now, and people need to wake up from it.
Very well said. People have no idea how fucking fake our politics is. It's all scripted. It's essentially WWE. And we talk about this with Shama Swan, someone else who I endorsed. We at RBN enthusiastically endorsed.
She's great. Yeah.
And Rome yesterday on RBN panel say he supports Jose. And what does it say when you got Rome of all people saying it's important? Because this is what we have to overcome, the gatekeepers. We just talked about this with Shama Swan, and I've been through it over my entire time, my 6 years of doing this as an organizer, as a citizen journalist. You feel this massive gate, and it's upheld by the bourgeoisie left establishment who wants a suitable CIA left. We talk about this all the time, and they gatekeep people like Shama Sawant and Jose Vega. She's running against a psychopath, Adam Smith, who called for the arrest of people who was protesting Israel. So do you understand how depraved the progressive apparatus is, that they won't support Shama? You guys know the DSA left. They refuse to endorse Shama over a Zionist because of factionalism, because Shama Sawant refuses to run as a Democrat. because you refuse to rehabilitate the Democratic Party. So you got to see these gatekeepers. They care about maintaining this social status more than they do delivering victories for the working class.
Yeah.
That's why we have RBN. We came to the conclusion that one of the most revolutionary acts we can do is help facilitate this anti-Zionist movement by supporting people who are challenging the assholes. But go ahead, Jose.
No, I was just gonna say
outside of the system. Go ahead, Jose.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I endorse everything you're saying, and for Rome to be coming out and endorsing a congressional race is like revolutionary as in itself. And I think actually, I think getting Rome out here into the projects in the South Bronx is needed. I think that he would have a great time here, because we need people who aren't afraid. For example, like Zoran's campaign, when they're in the Bronx, they're only in the bougie parts of the Bronx, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why nobody thought here, oh, let's just go into the projects and talk to the people here. What is wrong with people? Like, I don't know why they're afraid to do that. So I just went and did that, and we're going to just need tons of people who are totally okay with talking to another human being, which is ultimately what it is. And they need to stop being scared. And I think that that's one like big criticism I have of the Zoran campaign, is that it appeals to the sort of the like the yassification of politics, right? Like the people who get their little matcha lattes, right, and just want to.
It's being ran by Obama campaign advisors, by the way.
Yeah, see, that stuff to me is like such huge red flags. It's like, because the other thing is, like, this guy at this point is going to be the mayor, right?
Yeah, he's dominating. He's killing the game.
He's dominating. He's killing the game, And like my strategy at this point with that is, well, we have to wait and see. I mean, he said he's going to arrest Netanyahu. He's made some promises. Like, at this point, I can only treat him like the mayor or like any other elected official, and I just have to hold him accountable no matter what. Because, at the end of the day, he's not in charge just yet. He will be. And, we will see what he does, but I'm not very confident at all that, we'll get much of it done. But anyway, it's not the roast of Zoran.
Yeah. I'm gonna spare him today because we got a lot of heat today. What personally, I don't view RBN and what we're doing part of the Zoran movement. You're in New York, so you have a different struggle than I do, particularly because you guys have to strategize and figure out what you're gonna do with Zoran Mardai. To me personally, as a communist in the Midwest, he has nothing to do with me, and he don't want anything to do with us. Like, you will never see him come out and endorse Shama Sawant, for example. You will never see him come out and support RBN Mutual Aid. So I'm not like begging for their attention. That's the position I'm at right now.
Yeah, because I have a lot of people that are around my campaign who also support him, and I understand that, which is like, I'm not saying anybody who supports him can't support me. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap because he tapped into the New Yorkers who are, anti-genocide, right? And, there are, just good people who just want to believe in somebody. So, I don't condemn anybody, for supporting him. But that's why, like, instead of me complaining about, because as somebody,
just 1 second, I'll be right back. Just keep talking.
No problem. Like, as somebody who's running in, the electoral politics system, yeah. Are there other people who are bad? Yeah, sure. But it's like, I need to give people a reason to vote and believe in what we're doing, to show people, like, wait a minute, there is another way forward. You don't have to just rely on the two-party system, and we have to prove that. So, this is why one of the reasons why I kept the campaign office open after the last election was because I was like, okay, we're actually planting seeds here. We're planting roots, we're trying to actually build a movement here. So anyway,
sorry, I had a tech issue. That's why I just had to refresh real quick. I'm gonna continue this. We're gonna get to the road to Ritchie Torres. I guess we divide the time evenly because I think it's very important for us to expose this progressive apparatus. I think you got a lot to say on it as well. And these are gonna be the people who they're gonna smear you. They're not gonna support you. They view the insurgent left, the insurgent working class as the enemy. We covered this on our Hassan roast yesterday. Because people like Hassan, they openly admit that they fear that the anti-Zionist movement will be captured in a movement that is outside the Democratic Party. And they say this stuff all the time. They say, what if there's an anti-Zionist movement outside of Democrats? Oh, no. They are afraid of that, and they are doing everything they can to prevent that. That's why they are rehabilitating people like Ritchie Torres. But to emphasize how horrific what he's doing is, and you kind of hit the nail on this earlier, they purposely are avoiding Gaza coverage. Look, in an internal email, AIPACman later told his staff that the content creators at the White House had talked among themselves, and everyone had admitted that they deliberately avoid producing Gaza coverage to prevent controversy. I'm reading at the middle there. So essentially, they all came to agreement as pro-Biden content creators, like, hey, man, let's not cover Gaza. Let's avoid that content as a whole, which is why David AIPACman has taken the Zionist position on this. And now they're trying to justify this, like, hey, guys, there's nothing nefarious going on here. We just need an independent left. So here's his response, and Jose, I'll get your thoughts.
For years, I've been saying the left needs to organize independent media. Is
it independent if you're being force-fed narrative by corrupt, genocidal neoliberals? Where are the true and only independent media? The people who don't have paymasters that tell them to repeat a narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very proud that, we don't take any big corporate donations or anything like that, because that's why I can come on your show and just say what I want to say.
Yeah.
I know that there are, I get unsolicited advice all the time from establishment political consultants who are like, well, maybe you should tone it down a little bit, or I had somebody tell me that, well, Jimmy Dore might not be the best platform for you to, you got to go and appeal to the more moderate people, because not all the voters are going to watch independent media. It's like, okay, so what? It's my job to educate people on the ground. There's do I go meet the voters where they're at? That's what they tell me. It's like, you know what, I will go do that, and I will go and show them that there is a better alternative. And that is not, you give people that's the best thing about this, is that when you go in the street and you talk to people, and you can just expose to them, oh yeah, here's what your corporate overlords have fed you today. You just tell them, oh, you probably believe this, right? Well, did you know XYZ? And then you can just see they either melt down, they're like, no, that's not true, that's not true, that's not what CNN said. Or it's like, wait, really? I didn't know that, and that is the benefit of why independent media is just so needed, why your channel and other channels like yours that are not David AIPACman, and also these alternate channels like David AIPACman and Sam Seder exist to funnel that demand of, I don't trust the mainstream media. Where can I go get alternate media, that I can actually trust? And so then there's channels like yours. Oh, wait, Majority Report is actually going to be promoted more. It's like, oh, you like AOC, right? Well, she likes Majority Report. So, and you trust her and they hate her, right? So, yeah.
They have Emma Vigeland on CNN.
Oh, please.
Can you imagine if they gave me a second on CNN? You guys see my interview with Ro Khanna, right? Imagine that, but 1,000 times worse. Me grilling. Yeah. Imagine me grilling Scott Jennings. They are comfortable sitting Emma Vigeland next to Scott Jennings. You know what I mean? Yeah. They gave Sam Seder an MSNBC contract. So people is Sam Seder's on the list? He's not on this list. This was just one particular list that was exposed. But you understand that the Democratic neoliberal apparatus have many different ways to get the payment to people, to send the message to people. So if they want to get people like Sam Seder on their side to smear people like us, the Jimmy Dore left, people who are outside the Democratic Party, what you do is you offer him an MSNBC contract. Mm-hmm. He gets host the Chris Hayes shows every once in a while. That's how you get his loyalty. You get Emma Vigeland's loyalty by having her do a few MSNBC and CNN panels. You have Anna Kasparin do a few CNN panels. That's why she come out against homeless people. That's why she come out for funding the police more, because she get that CNN panel slide. You got to see. That's how it works. Never in a million years, fam, would they give me that slot. People like Destiny gave me 20 minutes and realized that was the worst mistake of his life. Robbie Suave from The Hill gave me 10 minutes He debated me over communism, and that's a 10-minute video, and that was the worst mistake of his entire life. And you guys never see me on the Hill ever again. Well, go ahead, Jose, if you have any other thoughts.
No, it's just that they can't operate outside of established, this side versus that side, right? It's always Republican versus Democrat, liberal versus conservative. This is
Right.
it. This is the only thing that exists. Don't even talk to me about third party challengers. So yeah, I'm with you.
This is the guy who is the most algorithmic boosted liberal dipshit that you can possibly find on the internet, bro. Like,
they all,
if
but
you
see,
guys
like,
don't
they
know
all
how
coordinated.
Go ahead, Jose.
They all coordinated their response. That was crazy. Like, David Pakman didn't say anything for a minute. Olivia Juliana didn't say anything for a minute. Other creators didn't say anything. They probably got the email that was like, "Hey, just don't say anything. We're crafting up a response now." And then, you can all say something like they were probably told not to respond, which is funny because they say in this video, "Oh no, we didn't tell people when to post or not to post." But that's probably what happened. They're like, "Just don't respond. We'll respond for you." And then it's like when we respond, then you can respond. Like, they were told what to do. They're clearly exposed. And then they had their little minion accounts boost this video and call Taylor Lorenz like a scum or whatever, and like,
Oh, bro,
she
they hate her
failed.
guts, bro.
Yeah.
They can't. They are attacking her left and right now. They're trying to end her entire career.
When they played that video of Candace Owens like saying like, "Oh, I kind of like Taylor Lorenz," I was like, really?
Nah.
It's like, who your audience is. This is not an independent minded audience. Okay, like the fact that you could just show Candace Owens saying Taylor Lorenz's name and you think that's effective shows who you are catering your content to. You're not challenging anybody. You're just comfort content.
I'm gonna show you guys the liberal class melting down at Taylor Lorenz, whose career I do not follow that closely. I know she was like a like New York Times, Washington Post liberal socialite for a long time, but she have covered a lot of like I've seen a lot of anti-Israel stuff from her. You know what I mean? I'm very confused about her political development right now because there are posts of her like bashing Joe Biden. Like, she's like going through some fucking things right now. It's very, I don't know her well enough to really classify her because obviously she's a shit lib, but she doesn't repeat. That's why she's exposing this Democratic dark money. She's in this weird. I don't know her that well. She's in this weird spot where she's like trying to figure out what her audience is going to be. But I'm going to show you, I'm not going to show you that much, but I'm going to show you the line that they are using. That's complete bullshit.
At the risk of giving an internet troll more attention, I want to address.
Look, they called her an internet troll.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bro, they are so mad.
Yeah, and they should be because they're fucking idiots. But go on.
Anyway, let's.
Yeah.
They're so mad.
At the risk of giving an internet troll more attention, I want to address a piece that Taylor Lorenz wrote yesterday for Wired. An initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. Literally nothing in this statement is true. The article is about Poorest, which is a nonprofit that I helped found to build up a creator ecosystem, which everybody says they want, but few are doing. So here's what Poorest is. It is a scholarship program to teach creators how to grow their accounts, foster engagement, launch their own show.
Bullshit. So, you know how you know this is bullshit? Because it was exposed that David fucking Pakman is part of this program. Do you think David Pakman, with his 2 million subscribers, do you think he needs help on building an audience?
Yeah, sure. Right. It's like, "Oh, I'm just a struggling creator with 2 million followers. Please, help me out here." Come on. Yeah. And he has sponsors too. Somebody was posting like the list of sponsors that he has, like the ad reads that they do. He has like 30 sponsors. He's doing okay for, he's not a small independent creator.
Olivia Juliana, she has 320,000 followers on X. She won a neoliberal body account. She has I'm sure she has a big Instagram. Like, she has a big Democrat. So, 30 seconds in? 30 seconds in, we were already caught alive. I don't want to spend too much time on this just for a second time, but you guys see how we already caught him in a bullshit lie? He's like, "Oh, this is a program. We help small content creators." I thought you guys wanted that. I thought you guys wanted us to help boost the small lefty accounts. That is not what you're doing. You guys are paying and creating a jobs program for neoliberal sellouts. where they can bash people on the left. You're not paying people just to spread their opinions. Do you guys think it's a coincidence that every single person on that list, and I promise you, if you search every single person on that list and Jill Stein, every single one of them came out with a video condemning her. Do you guys think that's a coincidence? So you guys think he already full of shit. And when you see all these videos that they're coming out with, they never outright denied that there was a paid quid pro quo. Do you guys, do you hear any denial in this video? This is what everyone's bringing up. And we don't have a lot of time to go through everyone, but every single video response like this, they never say, I was not paid to create content by the Democratic Party. That's a statement you would never hear any of these people say. Harry Sitton, a sucker, apparently, because you have people like Olivia, who, can you really blame her for getting the bag? At the end of the day, meanwhile, Harry Sitton is doing this shit for free. So here's a tweet. Here's a tweet where Harry Sitton admits he's a sucker. I'm part of Torres. I do propaganda for free. That's what he's saying.
You should apply, because at the end he says, hey, if anyone else wants to apply who's an independent left creator, well, you should do it. You know, see if you can get some money from him.
Like, bro, you leaving money on the table, bro. I know you probably got a different contract. You probably like, man, that's chump change compared to the shit I'm on. He like, that shit chump change. But he probably not even worried about that small ass shit. But he like, I never seen people from them. But the outrage is
bent
total
over for the Democratic Party. There's no way he cares about Cora's money. He's getting like upper echelon money to bend over the way he does.
Yeah, Cora's is intro level shit. He's like, bro, that's amateur money, bro. He's on that. He's on the next level. There are some really good people in that program who want to build a strong, sustainable community of left-wing creators. They use that term left-wing very loosely. Very, aren't they? I explained before, I use the French Revolution term. Left mean you want revolutionary change. You're on the right if you uphold social norms and establishment systems. That's what it means to be conservative. And what do the Democrats want? They want to uphold the CIA. They want to keep the police state intact. They want to build on a military-industrial complex. They literally talk about upholding norms in the Democratic Party platform. So when I tell you guys that the Democratic Party is a right-wing party, I am using the scientific definition of what that means. But America is so fucking dumb, they don't even know that. But anyway, I kind of want to move on. I don't want to drag on this too much.
Yeah, we can't harp on this for too long, right?
Yeah, let's get to
Mr. Torres,
Ritchie Torres. Let's play your video first. You have a great video, and I'm gonna start a conversation from there. There must to cover on this, but I think I did enough. I think I did enough on this. Let's go to Ritchie Torres.
Okay,
I'm gonna play this video first. This is a great video. Let's start with this, and I'll pass it to you afterward. I want to play this video.
Ritchie Torres, we coming for you.
So it turns out that Israel's biggest cheerleader, Ritchie Torres, was personally profiting off of the slaughter and genocide of the Palestinian people. Not only was he voting against ceasefire resolutions, not only was he voting to send money, arms, and weapons to Israel, he was investing in the same companies that were producing missiles, bombs, bullets that would be used to kill 80% of the casualties in Palestine, which turned out to be innocent civilians. That's the person who represents this area. And that's who I'm here to talk to the constituents. See, he was here 3 days ago in McKinley Houses.
Hello, it's Congressman Torres from the Bronx. I'm here at McKinley Houses in the South Bronx.
And so I want to talk to the constituents to see if they know what their congressman has been up to, show them a good alternative, me, and see just what their concerns about and how much they actually do care about Palestine and Israel. Do you know who this man is?
I don't.
No.
No.
This man is Congressman Ritchie Torres, and he represents this district. And it was revealed that he is investing in companies that make weapons, missiles, bombs, and bullets. He himself personally was investing in these companies that send weapons and missiles to Israel. He's doing it under your name. For the last 4 years, was voting to send money and weapons to Israel.
This is how it's fucking done. You guys can check the entire video. I just want to show a preview. I want to pass to Jose. I want you to speak more on this because we have the man himself here. So I want you to explain your strategy and why you decided to run. Why should people get behind you? I want you to speak freely on this because I think this is definitely the approach we need as a movement to build an outside movement to challenge these Zionists, the pro-war Democrats. But go ahead, Zion. I want you to speak your mind on this.
When I first decided to run, like last year in December, January, when we were making the decision if we're going to do this or not, I mean, I always hated Ritchie Torres, and then he
Yeah,
said like that is the only reason I would ever run is to just get rid of this guy, and I hate him. And but when I saw that no one was running against him, like it was getting to November, December, January, and I was expecting, okay, there's going to be a primary challenger, but we're still going to do this thing anyway. But then I found out that no, nobody was going to challenge him. So I was like, well, shit, I got to do this. And the reason I had to do this was because one, it's the right thing to do, right? This is the poorest congressional district in the entire country. In the entire country, the Bronx is the poorest congressional district in the country. And it is currently being occupied by this man named Ritchie Torres, right?
right.
And in the most, it's like the most uneducated, it's the most unskilled, unemployed district in the entire country. And so, there's two ways you can look at that. Either you go to the leaders, Ritchie Torres, like Ritchie Torres and the councilmen and the assemblymen, and you say, hey, you guys need to go and educate your population. But for 50 years, the establishment has just been running the Bronx over and over and over again. And so I was just tired of it. So I decided, you know what? No, it is my responsibility to educate my neighbors. It is my responsibility to go out and organize the people that I live near, and this is my neighborhood. This is the Bronx. But I've always had a vision where it's like, well, I also do believe that the entire country and the entire world, like, just you can't legitimize or delegitimize one struggle in favor of another, right? Like that's why we talk about Palestine and Gaza. That's also why we would talk about Sudan. That's why we would talk about the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. That's why we talk about, because it's all one struggle. It's all shared struggle, right? And my ultimate goal was to inspire other people to be catalysts, for me to be a catalyst for other people to say, you know what, fuck it, like I'm gonna go run against my person too, or my congressman, because if they're gonna be committing atrocities and genocide, and saying that they represent my interests are not to bomb Palestinian children. Okay, that's not my interests. And so, I decided, you know what, if you don't trust the person to represent you, you should represent yourself and you should declare your independence. And that's why I decided I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I don't trust any of these fools to represent me, but me, I know that I could do a better job than this guy. And most importantly, I have a national vision. I know that we can reindustrialize the United States. I know that we can have high-speed rail, that I could get from here to the Midwest, wherever you are, in 3 hours by a high-speed rail if we wanted to, rather than spending money to maintain 800 military bases around the world. We just gave the Defense Department, what, $1 trillion? And it's funny, in the Adam Friedland interview that Ritchie Torres did in just a few days ago, he's asked, like, well, you gave so much money to Israel. And he says, well, there's a 7 trillion budget that the federal government has. We've only given Israel $25 billion. That's nothing. Okay, well, where's the 25 billion then for the Bronx if that's nothing, right? This man has done nothing for this district. And that's the other stuff I was talking to people about too while I was out there. It's like, like one of the people I was talking to there who was on camera, like she's 15 years old and she starts telling me that there's a gang problem in her neighborhood just because of where she lives, that the people across the street want to shoot her only because of where she happens to live. She's not involved in any gangs, and it's a big problem. And she says nobody does anything about it. And nobody has come to ask her about it. And so she didn't know who these politicians are. And she's going to grow up thinking that, these elected officials don't do anything. But you know what? They don't. They don't. So I understand exactly where she's coming from. So to anybody watching, I would just say you should also go out and do something. Like, even if you don't want to run for Congress, because believe me, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. Just go out and record yourself. Then the reason you should record yourself is so that other people do this too. And just say, this is our congressman. Look at what he funded. Chances are whoever's watching this, you live in a district that's occupied right now by some Zionist congressmen. Go out there, tell them your congressman did this and that needs to change, right? That is the very bare minimum that I think anybody who calls themselves an activist or an art organizer, you should be organizing, you should be advocating, and you should be informing your people in whatever medium that works for you. But I just decided, you know what, if I'm going to call myself a representative, if I'm going to call myself a congressman, then I have a responsibility to go and meet people where they're at, which is what I did. And I intend to do more of that. And people should, and if you're in the New York area and you want to help us, come aboard. We do have a website, votevega.nyc. It's under maintenance right now, so some of the stuff's kind of buggy. There'll be a new website rolled out hopefully like next week, but the volunteer button still works if people want to go and be a part of it. But no matter where you are, you have just a basic responsibility to inform your neighbors of the wrongdoings happening. And so that's what I would just, tell people, like, why I am doing what I'm doing and why I did what I did too. I was so fucking pissed off after Torres, it comes out that he's personally profiting off of this shit. Like that is insane. That is insane. Because then it's just, but sorry. And then I try to keep myself composed in these things. I know, I'm trying to not.
RBN is a channel where everyone has a kind of meltdown against the establishment. That's kind of what our channel is known for at this point. So it's all good. Very therapeutic.
It's just so. The night that I saw that interview, I couldn't sleep, right? So I got up in the morning and I just went to my
I saw that.
bodega, where a lot of people who, before they get on the train or on the bus, they go and they just order their food, and I was just talking to them about this shit, right? Like, you can do that, like, be that guy in your neighborhood that doesn't stop talking about this, and that's the other point. Like, I went out there with my tablet, my iPad. These are devices that were designed to control us in one way or another, right? Like, that's what these things were for. You have to use these tools, turn it on their head, and use it to expose these fuckers. Use it to expose the truth about what they're doing. So anyway, and that comment, and did no one think he was going to look at his investments? He probably thought he could get away without filing them because he filed them late. He filed them extremely late. And so he was told, you have to file these, you have to file these. He was probably thinking, how do I hide these? Or no one's going to care enough to look. And they did. And so the truth came out, and it is not a good week to be Ritchie Torres.
Can you imagine being this evil? So he was urging Biden to rush bomb for Israel because he had stocks in Lockheed Martin and Nordstrom. So he knew he was going to profit from the bombs he was advocating for. And then he was calling the left little Hamases. Do you guys remember that?
Wow.
Well, you guys are little Hamases because we are getting him in the middle of his investment. Do you guys see how evil what capitalism brings out of people? Because it's capitalism. Now, you're not a capitalist. You're an exploited worker. That a lot of people don't understand. You're not a fucking capitalist, delusional fucking peasant. This guy's a capitalist. You know what capitalists do? They invest in arm manufacturing because they know that's where the money's at. So what they do after supporting arm manufacturers in the military-industrial complex? They support the most pro-war fucking politicians they can possibly find to make the most out of their investment. Welcome to capitalism, sir. Good job. Good luck reforming it. Because this is the result of it. But go ahead,
that's exactly right. And that's why. No, but that's why. Like, I'm so sorry. What did you ask?
Anything you want to add? Just feel free.
That's just like why I am such an advocate. Like, people were asking me, like, oh, if Michael Blake decides to primary Torres, like, would you support him? No, fuck Michael Blake. He is like this big NATO supporter. Okay, and like, it's the same apparatus. It's the same war apparatus, whether it's NATO with Russia and Ukraine or it's the genocide in Gaza. I don't support war manufacturing anywhere. And I don't think that just because somebody is going to come waving a Palestinian flag and say, oh, I'm against the genocide, I'm definitely the guy to replace Ritchie Torres, but it's okay to send money and weapons to go kill Ukrainians and Russians. That's okay. This one isn't. See, it's all being pushed and generated and done by the military industrial complex. They are all pushing this shit. And none of us should fall for this, people who are going to come, because there's like the first of all, Michael Blake is an institutional guy. Okay. He ran in the New York State Assembly here in the Bronx. And he's brought on CNN, and he was an Obama aide. Right. He was an Obama aide. He's never denounced that. Like, come on. I need people to just be, ready to withstand this and don't take it. Like, I need people to have standards. You know, the way I've been talking about it, it's like if you are trying to get a significant other, just because the significant other doesn't beat you, doesn't mean that they're a good partner. Okay. You know, a good partner is there for you all the time. They go out of their way for you. They get you flowers and gifts and roses and whatever, right? You know, just because you decided to get the bum over the serial abuser doesn't mean it's an upgrade. It might be a small upgrade, but that doesn't mean you got a good partner. And so I think we should treat our politicians the same way. We should have real standards for our politicians and not accept the bare minimum, because the politician should not, you shouldn't elect somebody just on the bare minimum, like, okay, well, you know, he's not going to support the war in Gaza or the genocide in Gaza, but you know, and that's more important right now than, no, that's why we run independent, because we don't compromise on these issues.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to compromise, okay?
Yes,
Anybody who
sir.
tells you that you have to compromise is lying. You just have to put in the work. And
Yes,
it's a
sir.
lot of work. It's hard. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. You know, I understand that people have obligations. They have to go to work. They have their families, you know. So everybody also plays different roles. You know, not everybody has to run for office, and you know,
Yes,
not
sir.
everybody is going to be writing articles exposing this. You know, we all have to act in the ways that we can, and we have to do the most that we can. So
That's so well said, and um, very powerfully said. I'm glad that that's a core part of your campaign, because that's what we always advocate at RBN. Don't allow yourself to get dragged down by the political nihilism, electoral politics. You guys know the people who obsess over just electing Democrats. They have the most nihilism, because when Trump won, they're like, we might as well give up. They quit politics. They deleted the social media after Trump won because they give up. They're like, oh no, we're screwed. Meanwhile, what revolutionaries do, we continue to organize ourselves. And even though Jose has a tough challenge, and it's a challenge that he meets, this is where you have a community that backs him up in these struggles. You have a community that back up Rome as he building the library, because that's tough. What Rome does every day is tough. That's why he was directly retaliated against by the police, because what he does directly in the community. And not everyone can be Rome. I've been put in a weird position where I give speeches. I'm supposed to be meet with Shaman next month as well. I'm almost in like this educator role as well. But not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do what Rome does. Not everyone can do what Jose Vega does. We need people on the ground, and we need people who can simply support the movement, who back up the people who actually do put their neck out on the line, to be class traders. If you are busy, you're working, that makes sense. Your job is to be a class trader. Find what their role is for the movement and engage in it. But I want to get back to Ritchie Torres, and I want to get back to these pro-war Democrats, because it's very key, because to understand that the root of their evil is rooted in profit, because he is bought and sold by the arm manufacturer. He has direct incentive in the arms industry. The same with Ro Khanna, who has investments in the military-industrial complex, and then he comes on RBN and says, I support the Ukraine war because I support self-determination. Yes, meanwhile, they got pregnant women. They got pregnant women fighting for NATO as they're expanding the military-industrial complex. And Ro Khanna, like, I support the self-determination of pregnant women to fight and die for NATO.
And no, we stole NATO's sovereignty. That's what happened in 2014 when we funded the Maidan coup. That's when Ukraine lost its sovereignty. That's when it lost its independence. Like, you know, and I got into it with Ukrainians in the street, where they were like, "What do you mean? You know, what do you like Putin?" It's like, no, I want your country to have its sovereignty again. I want the United States to get out of Ukraine. Okay, I want you to be able to control your elections again. Look at that. Now you have a dictator who isn't letting you have an election, right? Because of martial law or whatever, right? But you know, that's such a, they had elections throughout all of the wars, including World War I and II. Like, you don't deserve to have a leader that's a US puppet who's actually stopping you from having democracy. And so that's how I tell people about the war in Ukraine, is that if you support Ukrainian sovereignty, then you'll support us leaving that war. Anyway, yeah.
I'm gonna play the video. We're gonna end on this, 'cause I don't want to take too much of your time on a Friday night, but I definitely want to cover this. This will be the last thing we cover, just for the sake of your time, because this is the video that went viral, and he was utterly exposed for the genocidal psychopath that he is. And I have a lot of critiques of this video in itself, and I will say that for another day. Like, because I actually have a lot of critiques of Adam Friedland during this interview. It is not perfect. It's part of the centering of Jewish feelings and the erasure of Palestinians as humans. And that's almost like the only way you get people to sympathize. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm going to say that for another analysis. For this particular segment, I'm going to focus on Ritchie Torres because, trust me, I have a lot to say when it comes to this video. But let's play this. And this video really shocked a lot of people because people saw like the lack of humanity from Ritchie Torres. I just started, and feel free to chime in anytime.
If you have disagreements with the Israeli government, you should voice your criticism of the Israeli government. But there is no justification for intimidation or harassment against American Jews.
Oh my God! Already, it's like what? See, I wish
go
you
off,
asked
brother.
them,
Go
okay,
off.
like what does voicing your criticism look like without being anti-Semitic? Yeah, like why can't you? What you can't? You see, you can't because any criticism of Israel, like what was it? I don't remember. I think it was Rokana or somebody had, or Tucker Carlson was like to AIPAC. Can you give me criticism of the Israeli government that's not anti-Semitic? And he never got a response back, right? So there is no such thing as, well, just voice your criticism of the Israeli government. Yeah, okay, sure. I don't like their tax policy. Maybe that might be, like kosher to say. Right. Oh, I think they tax too much or something. That might be the only criticism that you can say that's not anti-Semitic. And I think that what Israel has done, and see, this is the thing about Ritchie Torres. Is he brainwashed? You see, I have a theory that I honestly think he might have been brainwashed, like actually physically brainwashed, because so if you read his life story, he dropped out of college. He was suicidal, and that's a very tough thing to go through. We do have a mental health crisis in this country. And then he got a job working for an assemblyman here in New York, and then he got on antidepressants. You know, like I know that's a very big reality for a lot of people. And then he says, "Oh yeah, but then I took this trip to Israel and that changed everything."
Oh,
There,
Jesus
I've
Christ.
I have read
Oh,
so many
Jesus.
spy. There are so many spy novels where when you go to a foreign country and then you're on some kinds of drugs, and then you come back a completely different person. It's like they did something to him over there that they programmed him to be like, "I love Israel. I'm gonna like this guy." Have you ever seen The Manchurian Candidate?
I 100% believe that. Do you guys see how they have a photo of every single politician touching that stupid fucking wall? You tell me they're not doing some fucking brainwashing shit? Every single one. You got Donald Trump with his bad
Yeah.
posture touching the wall, J.D. Vance, Barack Obama, every single person.
Yeah,
They got everybody.
it's fucking crazy, and I think
So
they
I don't know if you
do.
want to call it brainwashing. I don't know what term you want to use, but it's something, isn't it? But go ahead, Jose.
Well, I was just saying, like, in terms of the other people, that's clearly just like, hey, we need this money to win this election. I genuinely think he was brainwashed. Like, I genuinely
Yeah.
think this man is not real. I think if you took a flash photo of him, he would become deprogrammed and just be like, please save me or something,
I think he's mentally ill. There's definitely some sort of mental illness because we already know that there are a lot of rich people who are legitimately narcissists, like they legitimately sociopaths. Like
Well, some
there's
of the
studies that show that billionaires, a lot of them they legitimately lack empathy once you join the top 1%. There's studies that show this over and over again, and the ruling class they don't like talking about it. They only like diagnosing the working class. But when you see these people like Jeff Bezos, when you see Elon Musk just casually call for regime change in other countries, when you see these billionaires call for casually call for bombings of other countries, when you see their apathy towards homeless people and people struggling, how is that not a form of mental illness? And I think the mental health establishment definitely plays a role of covering up what the fuck the ruling class is infected with. But I spare you guys. Jose, anything you want to add?
Well, yeah, well, it's just saying, well, some of the antidepressants he's on do make you apathetic. They do soften your ability to feel, which is like, so, he might actually only be thinking empirically or analytically. It's like, I don't have any feelings. I
Ah,
I know that when I'm pro-Israeli, I get a lot of money. And so therefore, and I have a lot of support, and the survey said that, and the people in my district say that they support Israel. So he's going to go empirical and analytical over just basic human decency. Like the whole interview, he is like trying to be human. He is not actually a human
yeah.
being. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that's not to knock anybody who's on an antidepressant, by the way. I understand that, like, there's a big problem in this country, and you know, everything our government does, you know, I understand why there's a big, you know, depression crisis, or you know, why people feel the way they do. So, you know, honestly, I hope that's one of the things I could address getting in there.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, because John Fetterman is one of the most diehard Zionists, and this guy has a lot of sad thoughts we hear.
Yeah.
Man, John Fetterman is such a deplorable asshole. He's like the only guy where people root for depression to win. Like, come on, motherfucker, speed up, hurry up. You know the demon that whispers in people's ear, like, come on, whisper louder, motherfucker. Get him out of here. He's the only one. I'm sorry. That's kind of dark.
Oh my God.
But let's move on. But there's a reason why he's a diehard Zionist. Maybe they got him. They get these ruling class people when their guilty conscience eats them up, and they pump them up with drugs, and they tell them the story of Israel, how Palestinians don't exist. All of a sudden they start rubbing their arms, say, come on, Israel has the right to defend itself. Repeat after me. I can see that happening. But let's continue. I'll let you can interrupt anytime. I'll let the video play.
Wait, hold on. Just get real quick. 1 second. 1 sec.
Yeah, sure. I'll play the video. I'll play the video as you're gone here. I'll start from the beginning. This is crazy.
Go for it. Yeah.
If you have disagreements with the Israeli government, you should voice your criticism of the Israeli government. But there is no justification for intimidation or harassment against American Jews.
I'm telling you as a Jew right now that we are receiving a lot more hate because of what the people with a flag that has a Jewish star on are doing to other people right now. And I'm telling you, as a Jewish person, how painful it is for us to say, and it hurts my stomach to say this. So you're going to say, I disagree, that this is a genocide. And that hurts to say that a Jew could do that. It hurts because we grew up with learning about what hatred is. That's
actually like a real.
The same year.
Because
if you want time in.
there you know, like, I know a lot of American Jews that like what he is saying is actually, it's like, oh yeah, no, we would never do that. This is what happened to us. And whenever I've spoken to somebody who is, you know, pro-Israel, and I'm saying like, they're doing this to children, no, we would never do that to children. Like, it's like something that's hard coded in them because of the way they were brought up, to be like, Jewish person could never do that because of what was done to us. Like, that's a very real phenomenon that I do see in a lot of American Jews. It's just that's just how it is. Do I agree with you that I think it like it takes away from,
I'm gonna say, I'm not mad at this guy. I have an analysis that I just have an analysis on society as a whole. You know what I mean? That the only way they can care about Palestinians, because I'm not mad. I'm not too mad at this guy. I just hate how that's the only way to get people to care about Palestinians is when they hear a Jewish person sad about it. You know what I mean? But go ahead, Jose. I don't mean. Sorry.
No, listen. I agree. I mean, I agree with you, right? It's like, well, wait a minute. Who cares how somebody feels about it? Like, there's people dying. There's people dying, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. That's just an objective fact that children are being maimed and slaughtered right now. So, you know, but it's going to be like, for example, like this interview and that section. See, the reason Ritchie Torres keeps getting reelected has nothing to do with the people in the South Bronx. It has to do with this one section in the Bronx that takes up about 40% of the people who come out to vote. It's called Riverdale and Fieldston. And it happens to be one of the richest zip codes in the country. And they turn out to vote, and they are hardcore Zionists. They're just hardcore Zionists. And they are, you know, like, for example, the head of the ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt, owns property up in Riverdale. And it's pretty like that's, but I wonder, like, if this clip is shown to them, can they then be like shaken out and deprogrammed out of this? Like, holy shit! I don't know. I hope that. I mean, I hope so too. So yeah, I see these things with like net positives.
I hope so.
You know, and also just on the point of like the anti-Semitism going up. Like, look, man, I was in my deli. It's run by Muslims, And all I'm gonna say is, like, after 10 o'clock, I went in there to go and grab a drink, and they were just like, "Look, man, the Jews this, the Jews that. Like, the Jews are doing everything, it's and everything's run by the Jews." It's like, whoa, no, I no, it's not the Jews, it's not, that's not it at all. I can't agree with that. I can't condone that. I don't condone anti-Semitism. And so, I was sitting there and I was talking to them about the origins of Zionism, talking about Jabotinsky and talking about Herzl and these other crazy ass, Zionist fanatics, and how they hated Judaism. Like, that's the thing that people don't know about Zionists, is that, like, when Zionism was becoming a real popular force in the world in, like, the late 1800s, early 1900s, they hated Jews. Like, they thought that the Jews were inferior because they didn't want to kill. And these Zionists were like the new Jew that were ready to form a wall of spears and kill and protect the land if needed, right? So, like, when I think, especially when Jews say, Judaism is not Zionism, like, that they mean that, and it's like taking away their culture and their heritage when you like, when these guys in the Muslim in the Delhi were saying, like, "Oh yeah, that's just how Jews are." It's like, no, it's not just how Jews are. So anyway,
Well, I think their perspective is, because there are a lot of people who are seeing the Star of David on dead Palestinians, and there are a lot of
yes,
synagogues, and I think, and maybe people can be better with their phrasing, but when they see all the amount of synagogues, when they see the Jewish institutions that are pushing for censorship, I don't think at this time it should be our focus to turn to tone police these people who are trying to reconcile how our society can be okay with so many dead Arabs, so many dead
yeah,
Muslims, so many dead Christians. That's the only thing I would say. I haven't personally seen that, but I understand where you're coming from, Jose. But
mhm,
there are a lot of focus on tone policing the people who are critical of the institution that is enabling the slaughter. That's the only thing I say. I don't want to spend too much time picking a fight, but that's the only feedback I will say to that. Anything you want to add before I continue the video, Jose? All
no, let's keep going.
right, let's continue.
The state of Israel was established in 1948. The world saw the Holocaust, and they established standards for what a genocide is. It was the same year. And the world said that this shouldn't be a thing that happens. And I just wonder, like it doesn't make sense to me, what, like, I don't know, it doesn't track to me why there's this fixation with kids at a school.
Don't get me wrong. I think this is a great expose of Ritchie
Hmm.
Torres and the anti-Zionist Jews and their position. I think they should be strategic. You take advantage of your emotions. Emotionally manipulate these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? I 100% support that. I want us to have a recognition. And I really hope they do as well, because I heard some problematic things in this interview regarding his statements on resistance. I don't want to get into that right now. I just want them to humanize Palestinians too. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that too much of an asshole. I know not everyone may agree with me. That's okay on my framing on this. But I really think in this time where Arabs are being slaughtered with the Star of David on people, in this time, in this moment, we're going to focus on certain people's feelings while just erasing the legitimate anger that people may have. That's my only criticism. But I would say, if I'm not being, I guess I am kind of incoherent here. But this guy, I do think this is a good job by him. Like, you got to play your role.
Oh
I guess he
yeah,
is playing his role. I am kind of conflicted on this, as you guys can tell, because it is a good job. I'm glad that someone like this is able to call out Ritchie Torres, but also have a lot of other conflicting thoughts. But let's continue.
It doesn't track to me why there's this fixation with kids at a school, and two examples of people at a restaurant that there was banging.
Two exampple. I mean, there are surveys on it.
Give me
Read the ADL surveys on it.
It's hard for me to talk about this in public because you're being a dick. That's mean.
God damn, what a fucking asshole. Sorry. It's just like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, clearly you have a hard time talking about this. Yeah, people are fucking dying. People are fucking dying. How else are you supposed to feel? How else are you supposed to think? Knowing that, like, not only just my tax dollars, but, like, if I'm I knew a woman. I was talking to this woman a month ago. Nice old lady, who lives in the district. She comes up to me with tears in her eyes because I was holding up a sign that said Gaza is still starving. And she came up and she said, I must tell you, I voted for Trump thinking he was going to give us peace because I didn't think Kamala Harris was going to do it. That's so if I'm someone in that position and I think like, man, I hope this guy's going to give me peace. And then I voted for that guy and he doesn't. And it's like, oh my God, like you only aided and abetted the genocide more. Of course you're going to be like distraught and think like I played a role in this. I played a role in this, except for us who played, voted third party, then we're good. We sleep good at night. So,
So for sake of time, Jose, I'm gonna play this clip in full. If you want to interrupt, you feel free. I'm gonna play this last 2-minute clip in full, and then I will allow you to respond. Then we will wrap up. I know we're going a little bit long tonight, but this will be the last part, and I'll let you respond to the clip. It's 2 minutes. I already said a lot. I already shared my analysis, so I'll let the video clip play, and then I'll let you respond because you're running against a psychopath. These are the 2 clips that went the most viral. I do suggest checking out some other clips. I may have another analysis to explain my thoughts more in detail about this interview. I do think it overall was very important for people to hear, and I think there's a lot of legitimate, valid feelings that this guy has as an anti-Zionist Jew that people should respect as well. But I'll share my full thoughts on another day. But let's play this clip in full. I'll allow you to respond, Jose, and then we'll begin to wrap up.
Sure.
I grew up a Zionist. And we were told, and our whole community in this country is told, that we have to defend Israel and love Israel because it'll stop the Holocaust. It will stop another Holocaust from happening. And my dad was born in 1951. That was 6 years after these atrocities. His friends' parents, he knew these people that had been through this hell, these skeletons. And it terrified us. And the understanding in our community is that we have to defend Israel. But I lived there, and I went to a settlement at the end of my year there, and I looked down a hill at a Palestinian village, and I saw how they lived, and I turned back and I looked at the settlement and saw how they lived. And people live in a world where they're demeaned and dehumanized and surveilled constantly by people and this isn't in Gaza, by people in SWAT team outfits with semi-automatic weapons, and that's what the world is seeing. And you keep telling me that the problem is someone's getting yelled at a restaurant. I'm sorry.
You're conflating 2 different issues. So I don't
Please. Me saying this to you right now will hurt people in my own family, okay? Because this is a very important thing to us. And the fact that I still fucking care about being Jewish is embarrassing. I should just be a guy. But this feels like a stain on our history. And it feels like it's changed what being Jewish is. Because what being Jewish isn't Israel. Judaism has existed for 4,000 years. This is a country for 75 years. It is the oldest, one of the oldest monotheistic religions. Anti-Semitism is one of the oldest forms of hatred. People in my life are going to be mad at me about this, but I'm saying this because I am Jewish.
That's right. That was my point exactly, right? That you can't let the actions of Israel is not real, define all Judaism. It's just not. You just can't. Otherwise, like I do like anti-Semitism is about to become a big problem. And, were they saying that last year? That last year was bullshit. Like last year was pretty artificial, but like as this thing progresses and progresses and progresses, and like if you're somebody who doesn't know any Jews, you're gonna see the Star of David, as he said, and you're gonna see the death of children next to it, and you're just gonna think to yourself, what kind of religion would ever, condone or support this? And he's making the right case, which is like, this isn't Judaism. This is just supremacy, that is masquerading as Judaism, but that's not it at all. But obviously, the worst part of that was Ritchie Torres, who's just like, I don't give a fuck. You know, like, oh, like, I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your emotions. Like, you're not the one paying me. Like, you're conflating two different things. It's like he just doesn't, and which just goes back to my
It's
theory
crazy,
that
man.
his ass is brainwashed. Okay, he was like quite literally drugged in Israel and told, what, this is what you're going to say and do from here on out. And anytime he hears any coherent criticism, he just hears anti-Semitism, 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 anti-Semitism. So all I'm gonna say is that clip itself is the biggest roast of Ritchie Torres, and quite
Yeah,
frankly, I'm gonna take that to the streets, and the biggest roast we're gonna give him is November of next year. We are gonna get his ass out. We have to just do everything we can to do it, and I'm gonna need people to help me do that. I truly am his number one hater because I get up early in the morning to go and tell people how much this man sucks, and we are going to make everybody in this district hate him, and we are going to replace that hatred with love, and we are going to develop the Bronx. We are going to treat the people who need help. We are going to help the single mothers that need it. We are going to make sure that people are fed. We're going to make sure that people have housing. We're going to make sure that people can get to work without, train delays. We're going to make sure that there are new train lines built. We're going to make sure that the schools that were shut down, which there was a Catholic high school that was shut down, he didn't do shit to keep it open. We're going to rebuild the schools that were shut down. We're going to rebuild the hospitals that were shut down, okay? Because we are actually going to care about the people of the Bronx again, all right? We are not going to use the Bronx as just like a place for occupation. Israel doesn't get to come here into my district and dictate who gets to rule this place, okay? Ritchie Torres is not a real human being. He is just a puppet in a suit for a foreign country to come, and also companies too, like Blackstone that invest in him, and for also Silicon Valley crypto bros that want to invest in him, so that he is just a total conduit for rich people money. And I have to prove that the Bronx can stand up for itself and declare its independence again. And that's what we're going to do.
very well said, man. We definitely rooting for you. And
Thank you.
people who are challenging the establishment, people need to understand. People like Ritchie Torres is the most deplorable traitor there is. If I was in charge, he would be charged with treason, as far as I'm concerned. All these neocons will be charged with treason. No one loves their country more than the person who is fighting for their neighbor. I don't want you to have medical debt. I don't want you to struggle. I don't want you to go homeless. I'm a patriot because I care about my American. This scumbag Ritchie Torres talks about a foreign country 24/7. He is the traitor. Don't ever let them twist that on you. When I talked to Rokana and I explained to him why I oppose going to war with Russia, because as an American, I want cooperation with America and Russia. As an American, I want cooperation between America and China. And that is the most patriotic stance you can take. Right. Caring about humanity is the best political position you can take. And the people who pretend that supporting our country means supporting our wars and corrupt politicians, they are the traitors, and we need to reclaim the narrative. And that's why I was able to pin road to the wall, and that's why you're able to, because you're able to share your love of other people in the Bronx, while Ritchie Torres can't shut the fuck up about Israelis. So thank you guys for watching tonight. Jose Vega, where can they support your campaign? Thank you for joining us for this great conversation tonight, man.
Oh, of course. People can go to votevega.nyc. If you sign up and if you donate, I will call you personally to thank you. I do that to everybody who donates. I saw some of you were donating while I was on with Nick here, and I just want to say thank you. I hope to see you in the streets with me soon, or supporting me in any way you can. And if all you can do is like and share this stream, then do that. Do it the best you've ever done it. So, that's where people can support me. I want to thank you, Nick, for giving me the platform to come on here and talk to your audience. And I just deeply appreciate being able to talk to people like yourself. So thank you, and to your audience.
Yeah, we was friends with Jose Vega even before he ran. So he's a homie that we're supporting. He has a good idea. So like Rome said, it would be foolish for us not to use our people power to challenge Ritchie Torres.
Ritchie Torres.
So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting RBN. Have a great weekend, guys. Make sure you guys support Jose Vega, and thank you for joining us. Take care.